What's up, y'all? I want to talk about something I was thinking about the other day because I was going back and forth with this dude on my platform. You probably saw my comment on some other page, and he wanted to tell me that Canelo would beat the brakes off Terrence Crawford, which I just don't believe. Uh, Canelo didn't really beat the brakes off Charlo. I mean, shouldn't Canelo have stopped Charlo? Terrence Crawford would have stopped Charlo. So, he wanted to talk about Terrence Crawford hasn't beaten any elite fighters. I was like, what was Kell Brook? What was Sean Porter? What was Errol Spence? And I was like, how many losses does Canelo have? How many losses does Terrence Crawford have? Exactly. And when people say Canelo's too big for Terrence Crawford was weighing 180 the other week. The dude was lifting 400 pounds when he was, what, 147 or something like that? So, I mean, it's just people are basically going to support whoever they're a fan of. I'm saying it because I really believe that Terrence Crawford would stop Canelo. I really believe that. And I told people he would stop Errol Spence. I said in the fifth round, which it could have been stopped in the fifth round. People got to stop being fanboys. But what I want to talk about is something I call plastic crowns. If you're a champion and you're not fighting the top guys, or you're not fighting like one guy that everybody wants to see, your crown is plastic. I'm going to go back to Riddick Bowe. Riddick Bowe was a great, great fighter, but his camp ducked the one fighter that could have potentially made him a great champion. I said he's a great fighter, not a great champion. He tended not to stay in shape when he wasn't fighting. I believe most of his training camps were just weight loss camps because he was trying to, lose weight for a fight. I remember his second fight with Galata. I remember my buddy Arturo, shout out to him if he's watching. I used to work with him at FedEx. But when we watched the fight with Galata, he said, we were like, Riddick Bowe just looks skinny. That's not training, just not eating. What'd you do? Just fast for the whole training camp? That's not training, that's just not eating. But those fights with Galata messed Bowe up too. I remember his speed started slurring immediately after. And yeah, but Riddick Bowe didn't fight the one guy that could have made his crown gold instead of plastic, and you know who that is. Lennox Claudius Lewis. Because Riddick Bowe never fought Lewis, his crown would have to be called plastic. You have to fight, if not the guys, you have to fight the one guy that everybody wants to see. You have to fight that guy, or else people are going to remember you in a way that you probably won't find too favorable. So let's think. Bruce Seldon, you remember him? The guy Tyson knocked out, and a lot of people said it was a phantom punch, but it landed, but it just looked suspect the way he got up and shook his head and did the wobble. It just looked kind of like he was acting. But Bruce Seldon, he didn't really hold the title long, so I don't. You could say his crown is plastic, but at least he fought Tyson. It's one thing to lose to a great fighter, and it's one thing to never fight the great fighter. So if you fight great fighters and lose, hey, your crown ain't plastic. At least you took them on. So that's a tough one for Bruce Seldon because, like I said, at least he fought Tyson. If it was on the up and up and everything was legal, then I'm gonna leave that one alone. But let's see. I know a lot of people try to say Tank Davis isn't fighting the top guys or any champions, but I'm sure he will eventually. We'll have to assess him more as his career progresses. But I'm just trying to think of fighters who didn't fight someone that everyone wanted to see at the time. But if you're a fighter out there, just make sure you're fighting the people, the boxers we want to see. Tyson Fury, for example. I don't know what's the problem with getting him into the ring with Anthony Joshua. We finally get a fight with him and Usyk. It's signed anyway, I understand. So we'll see if it actually happens. If Ngannou wins, that might mess that up just a little bit, even though it's not a title fight. But that could take some of the shine off the fight, like I was saying before in another video with Usyk, if he loses to Ngannou, especially being a guy that never boxed professionally, coming from MMA, the PFL, and the UFC. So Tyson Fury, you have to fight Usyk, and you have to fight Anthony Joshua to make sure your crown isn't plastic. You don't want to be remembered in history as a fighter with a plastic crown. I might make a rap about that. Plastic crowns. It's got to be hard too. The hook got to be just crazy. But Anthony Joshua, you like him or dislike him. You can't say Anthony Joshua held a plastic crown. Joshua has the best resume in the heavyweight division. He's taken on all comers. He hasn't avoided. At one point, I kind of thought I saw an interview with him where he seemed like he wasn't sure if he wanted to fight Wilder, but when Wilder was given a huge offer to fight Joshua, he didn't do it. So I'm not going to say that Joshua ever ducked Wilder, but it looks like Wilder might have ducked Joshua at some point. But I think they'll eventually have that fight. I won't say Wilder has a plastic crown because he's still fighting, but he should have fought Joshua by now. He should have more top fighters on his resume other than Luis Ortiz a couple times and Tyson Fury a couple times. Who else was a top guy that he fought? Bermane Stiverne. He went the distance with him the first fight. Believe he knocked him down, but that first fight went the distance. So I'm not going to say Deontay Wilder has a plastic crown until he continues his career a little bit more. Terrence Crawford definitely doesn't. I don't care what any of you Terrence Crawford haters have to say. The boxing outlet steady making content talking about Terrence Crawford cheated. I mean, dude, really, man? I mean, you lose all your credibility when you start talking like that. You just sound like you don't like Terrence Crawford. I mean, man, it almost seems personal. Like, man, dude. Makes you wonder if some people try to get an interview or something and they didn't get it. So now they're on a campaign to trash this fighter's boxing resume. It's just, unless you have some evidence, why even make content about it? It just makes you look like a salty fanboy, which ain't a good look for you or your platform. But, yeah, boxing outlet, man. Stop tripping. So anyway, can you guys think of any boxers out there that had plastic crowns? Do you think Floyd Mayweather had a plastic crown? I would say nah. I know some people say he didn't fight certain guys, but I wouldn't say that about Floyd. Let me know in the comments who held a plastic crown. It's the J. Roos Theory. Make sure to comment, share, subscribe, all that underneath these fingers. LSR forever. And as usual, be fearless. Yay.